IELTS Speaking Test. Part 1, Introduction and Interview. Your home. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
I currently live in an apartment on the 12th floor of a high-rise building. It's a modern complex with good amenities.
What is your favorite room in your home and why?
Without a doubt, it's the balcony. It's a modest space, but it's my little sanctuary. I filled it with plants, and it offers a wonderful panoramic view of the city skyline. It's where I go to unwind with a coffee in the morning or to read in the late afternoon. It feels like an escape without leaving home.
Is there anything you would like to change about your home?
If I could, I'd reconfigure the kitchen. It's functional but rather narrow, which makes it difficult for more than one person to be in there cooking together. I'd love to open it up into more of a kitchen-diner layout to make it a better social space when I have friends over.
What makes a home comfortable for you?
For me, comfort is less about lavish furnishings and more about atmosphere. Key elements are ample natural light, a well-organized and clutter-free space, and personal touches like books, artwork, or photographs that hold meaning. Essentially, it's a place that feels genuinely reflective of my personality and offers a sense of calm and privacy.
Now let's move on to talk about concentration. When do you need to concentrate the most?
My deepest concentration is required when I'm engaged in analytical tasks at work, such as interpreting complex data sets or drafting detailed project proposals. A single error in logic or a missed detail at that stage can have significant repercussions later on.
Is it easy for you to stay focused on one task for a long time?
It can be, but it's not automatic. I've trained myself to use techniques like the Pomodoro method, where I work in focused, timed blocks with short breaks. If the task is inherently engaging, I can enter a state of flow for hours. For more mundane tasks, however, I do have to consciously manage distractions.
What kinds of environments help you to concentrate?
I thrive in environments that are quiet but not completely silent. A background hum, like in a library or a quiet cafe, is ideal. I also need my immediate workspace to be very tidy. Visually, a minimalist setup with a clear desk helps my mind stay clear and directed.
In modern life, what do you think are the biggest distractions to people's concentration?
The digital ecosystem is undoubtedly the primary culprit. The constant pings of smartphone notifications from social media, messaging apps, and emails are designed to fragment our attention. Beyond that, the modern expectation of multitasking and immediate responsiveness erodes our ability to engage in deep, sustained focus on a single task.
Now let's talk about numbers. Are you good at remembering numbers, like phone numbers or dates?
Honestly, I'm quite poor at rote memorization of numbers. Since smartphones have taken over the function of remembering contacts, that skill has atrophied. I do remember significant historical dates or statistics if they are embedded in a meaningful story or context, but strings of digits alone don't stick.
What numbers are important to you in your daily life?
Beyond the obvious ones like time, I pay close attention to metrics related to personal well-being and finance. For instance, tracking certain health stats like sleep duration or steps, and of course, managing budgets and savings targets. These numbers serve as practical indicators and guides for my daily decisions.
Do you think learning mathematics at school is important for everyone?
Absolutely, though its importance extends far beyond calculation. The core value of learning maths, in my view, is that it rigorously trains the brain in logical reasoning, structured problem solving, and abstract thinking. These are transferable skills vital for navigating an increasingly complex world, regardless of whether one ever uses trigonometry or calculus again.
IELTS Speaking Part 2, Long Turn. Describe a rule that you did not like in school or at work. You should say what the rule was, why this rule was established, how people felt about this rule, and explain why you did not like it.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about a stringent workplace rule from a previous job that I found particularly counterproductive. It was a blanket no personal mobile phones policy in the office. All staff were required to deposit our phones in locked personal lockers for the entire workday. The rationale, as communicated by management, was twofold: first, to protect sensitive client data from potential digital leaks, and second, to eliminate distractions and boost productivity. The general sentiment among my colleagues was one of profound frustration and irritation. We felt it was a somewhat draconian and infantilizing measure, treating us like school children rather than responsible professionals. The reason I personally disliked it so much was because it was incredibly impractical and created more problems than it solved. In today's world, a phone isn't just a social device, it's a vital life tool. The rule cut me off from urgent but personal communications, like updates from a family member at the doctor. It also prevented me from using two-factor authentication for my own banking or other apps during breaks. Furthermore, I often used my phone legitimately for work, as a quick calculator, a dictionary, or to scan a document. Having to traipse to the locker room for these minor tasks was a significant disruption. Ultimately, the rule demonstrated a lack of trust and a failure to adapt to how integrated technology has become in both our professional and personal ecosystems. It fostered resentment, which I believe is far more damaging to morale and, by extension, productivity than the occasional glance at a notification.
IELTS Speaking Test. Part 3. Two-way discussion. Rules and regulations in society. Why do societies need rules and laws?
Fundamentally, they provide the essential framework for orderly coexistence. They establish a common understanding of acceptable behavior, protect the rights and safety of individuals, and provide mechanisms for resolving disputes and administering justice. Without them, society would descend into conflict and chaos, as there would be no agreed-upon standards or consequences for harmful actions.
How do you think rules for children differ from rules for adults?
The core difference lies in their purpose. Rules for children are primarily pedagogical and protective. They are designed to teach core values, ensure safety, and guide development until the child has the maturity and judgment to self-regulate. Rules for adults, conversely, are based on the presumption of full agency and responsibility. They focus more on regulating interactions between autonomous individuals, upholding social contracts, and maintaining public order, with the understanding that adults are capable of understanding the deeper rationale behind them.
What are the consequences when people break important rules in a community?
The consequences operate on multiple levels. On a formal level, there are legal or institutional penalties, fines, sanctions, or loss of privileges, which serve as a deterrent and a form of restitution. On a social level, there can be a loss of trust, reputation, and social capital. When important rules are broken frequently, it erodes social cohesion, creates an atmosphere of insecurity, and can lead to the gradual breakdown of the norms that hold the community together, necessitating even stricter enforcement.
Some people believe that rules are made to be broken. What is your opinion on this?
I see that phrase as more of a provocative idiom than a practical philosophy. While I believe healthy skepticism toward authority and critical evaluation of rules are vital, outright believing they are meant to be broken is reckless. It disregards the stability rules provide. A more nuanced view is that rules should be challenged and evolved when they become obsolete, unjust, or hinder progress. The breaking should be a conscious act of civil disobedience for a greater cause, not a trivial disregard for order.
In what situations should rules be flexible or changed?
Rules should be re-evaluated when they consistently produce outcomes that contradict their original intent, or when the context they were designed for has fundamentally shifted. For example, a rigid work-from-home policy became untenable during a global pandemic, forcing flexibility. Similarly, societal rules must evolve with changing cultural values and new technologies. The key is having a transparent process for review and amendment, rather than applying rules with a blind, one-size-fits-all rigidity.
Who do you think should be responsible for making rules in a workplace? Managers? Or should employees also be involved?
I am a strong advocate for a collaborative approach. While senior management has the ultimate accountability for strategic direction and legal compliance, involving employees in the rule-making process, especially for operational and conduct policies, yields far better results. Employees on the ground have first-hand insight into practical challenges and unintended consequences. Their involvement fosters a sense of ownership, increases the likelihood of buy-in, and ultimately creates rules that are more realistic, effective, and respected.
Do you think the number of rules in modern life is increasing? Is this a positive development?
There's compelling evidence to suggest it is increasing, driven by technological complexity, denser urban living, and a growing focus on risk mitigation and litigation. Whether it's positive is debatable. On one hand, more rules can provide necessary protections in new domains like data privacy or online conduct. On the other, it can lead to overregulation, stifling innovation, personal freedom, and common sense. The danger is creating a society where people are fearful of making minor missteps rather than being empowered to act responsibly. The focus should be on crafting intelligent, principle-based rules, not simply multiplying them.
That is the end of IELTS speaking test. Thank you.